So this is our next video on Java tutorial series, and in this video we are going to discuss about inheritance in Java. So this is one of the basic concept of OOPS language. Earlier we discussed about abstraction, data abstraction or polymorphism. So this is the third most important concept of inheritance in Java. So let's begin. Now, the mechanism of deriving a new class from an old one is called inheritance. So, in that case, let's say we will have minimum of two classes where the one class inherits the property of another class. The old class is known as the base class, superclass, or parent class. We can say the class which is the old one or the previously made is called a base class or a superclass or a parent class, and the new class is called the subclass or the derived class or a child class. So we have a configuration or a kind of arrangement of a parent class or a child class, and we can say as superclass or the subclass or the base class as derived class. Okay, so what happened normally here, the base class has got the members, like every class has got members. Those member will be inherited and will be available to the derived class. Same with the parent has some members in it, will come down to the child class and will be available in the child class. So let's go to the next slide. Now, inheritance allows subclasses to inherit all the variable and methods of the superclass. But here there is a question mark about all, but depends upon the access modifier. It can be all or it can be few of them. Okay, so inheritance allow actually to that subclass to inherit the variables and members of its superclass. Let's say superclass has some variables and methods. With the help of inheritance, they will come down and will be available now in subclass. Although they belong to the super, but will be available in the subclass. Like, like now we'll see the different types of inheritance. Now basically inheritance are of four types. Now single level inheritance, here only one superclass is there. That means it's a kind of arrangement of class A and class B, where A is the superclass and B is the subclass which is inheriting the members of class A. If we have this kind of arrangement, it's called single level inheritance. Now multi-level inheritance is derived from a derived class, means if we go further down to that, let's say class A, B, C and D. So class B is inheriting to A, whereas C is inheriting to B, or D is inheriting to C. So if this way we go down, it is called multi-level inheritance. It's like a multi-story building with the different levels in it. Now, multiple inheritance, where several superclasses are there and one class is inheriting to more than a class. If we have a derived class which is inheriting to more than one superclass, that kind of arrangement is called multiple inheritance, where one class is inheriting, so taking the properties of or the variable and methods of different classes at one level is called multiple inheritance. And lastly, hierarchical inheritance, here one superclass and many subclasses. It is just opposite of multiple inheritance, you can say, where you have one superclass on the top and that particular class is being inherited by many subclasses. It's like a hierarchical inheritance with, you can say, one king has many children or son, you can say. Okay, so this is that kind of inheritance, so that is why it is called hierarchical inheritance. Okay, now go to the next slide. How to define a subclass? For that, this is the basic structure, or you can say syntax, by help of which we can define a subclass. So in that case, we'll use a keyword called class, like we normally do with the subclass name. You can have any particular name. Extends, now this point to be noted, that we will be using a keyword called extends to inherit a super class, that is superclass name. So that means this class, subclass, extends superclass, or whatever name you have given to subclass and superclass, using a keyword called extends. Now, within the body of the subclass, open bracket and the close bracket, we'll have variable declaration and method declaration of this subclass. But at the same time, this subclass will inherit the members of this superclass also, that is different variable and method of super class. So now this subclass will have its own variable and methods as well as variable and methods of superclass also. Alright. So now we will go to the program and see how actually this works. So for that we are opening this BlueJ, and I have already made one program over here, and in this program we will see how we can actually apply the concept of inheritance. So first we'll go to its detail and we'll try to understand. Now here is my program, and in this program we have a class called room. We have a class called room, and this class room has some variable length and width, okay, belongs to classroom, and has a constructor. You know, this constructor has got the same name as that of a class name, and this constructor is a parameterized constructor having two parameters of integer type with the name x and y, and these x and y are actually assigning the value to length and width. So this constructor will actually initialize the variable length and width of class room when it will be called. All right, that is quite simple. We have already seen all this. Now in this particular class room we have another method called area, which is returning integer type of value. It has a return type called int, and what actually it is doing, it is just multiplying length and width and giving us the area, or the returning the area. And you see here the keyword return is mentioned over here because this method has a return type called int, and when we will multiply int with int, as you can see, result will be int. Okay, so this classroom has nothing but the two variable length and width. At the same time has one constructor to initialize the variable length and width, and the area method to compute the area and return the area. Fine, so this class is over. Now coming to the next class called bedroom. Now this class bedroom extends room. So what is happening in this case? That means that we have a super class called room, which is being inherited by the subclass called bedroom. Now this class bedroom extends room means now the members of class room will be now available to the class called bedroom because of inheritance. But as we can see here, this bedroom class has another specific variable belongs to bedroom class only, that is height. So we have declared one variable as height. Fine. Now this bedroom class also has a constructor, but this constructor has three arguments like x, y, and z of integer type. Now in this case, this is important, super x comma y. Now this is one way of calling the superclass constructor. You know, by default the members of classroom will be available to the subclass called bedroom, but remember, constructor never gets inherited. Constructor will not be inherited at all, means this room, although it's a constructor, but will not come down even if there's an inheritance to class bedroom, because constructor has a unique name as that of a class name. So if this constructor will be available over here, then it will not be called as a constructor but will be treated as an ordinary method. That is not possible. So that is why using this keyword called super with x comma y, actually we are passing the value to the superclass, or you can say calling the superclass constructor. So the control goes over here with the value of x and y as super, and we'll call this constructor from this end and will assign the value to length and width. So out of these three x, y, and z, then x and y will be assigned the value, or will be assigning its value to length and width, but using the base class constructor, not the derived class constructor. And specifically, the z will be initialized, or z will be initializing the variable called height, which belongs to bedroom itself. So I hope that you must have got this point. Now we have another method called volume, which is again returning a value called int, and is doing nothing but just computing the volume with by multiplying length, width, and height. And here you can say this length and width, although belongs to superclass, but will be available in the derived class, because we know that the members of superclass will be inherited to the base, to the derived class. So we have computed the volume also. Now finally, with another class called inherit test, we are actually applying all these concepts, and we have this main method, and now after main method uh, we are creating an object. So always remember, in inheritance we always need to create an object of the derived class, because derived class will have member of its own as well as a base class. So always remember, in inheritance we need to create the object of the bottommost class. So here in this case it is bedroom, so we have created an object called ob of bedroom class, and calling the constructor bedroom with the three argument. As you can see here, it is x, y, and z. So given the value as 14, 12, and 10, so these 14, 12, and 10 are actually the actual parameters, and these are formal parameters. So this bedroom constructor will be called and will assign the value to x, y, and z. Got it? Now, after the value is being assigned to x, y, and with the help of x, y, and z to length, width, and height with this constructor, we are calling the method called area using the key an object of ob. But interestingly, as you can see, this area method belongs to superclass. Have a look at this. The area method belongs to superclass room, but we are calling with the help of the object of the derived class. That is perfectly all right, because of the inheritance, the method area, which was of classroom, is now available in class bedroom because of the inheritance. It is there in the bedroom. So now we can invoke the superclass member with the help of the derived class object. That is all right, because it is, although belongs to superclass, but is available in the derived class. So ob.area will compute the area, and this method will be called from this part, and will compute the area and will assign the value to area one variable of integer type. But same with volume, but remember, volume is that method which belongs to that particular class itself, to the subclass. But interestingly, as we can see, this method is being called with ob, belongs to superclass, whereas the volume method is again being called with the help of object ob but belongs to subclass. So this is perfectly alright in case of inheritance, because area method is now available in the derived class also. And finally it is computing area and the volume and assigning the value to area and volume, and then finally we are printing the value as area and volume. Now, so I hope that this program's logic is clear to you. Now we'll compile it and see whether it gives us any error or not. As you can see, it's been compiled successfully without any error. So now let's run this program and see what output we will be getting. So for that, we will call this main method and see, have a look at this. This is giving us the result room area as 168, whereas room volume is 1680. That means length and width will be multiplied, is giving us the area, that was 14 multiplied by 12 is 168, whereas 14 multiplied by 12 multiplied by 10 for the volume, it is giving 1680. So that is quite simple. I hope that you must have understood how we are going to do, because you can see the value was 14 and 12 for length and width, so 168 will be the area, whereas 168 multiplied by 10, because length comma width comma height, that is 14, 12, and 10, will give us 168 multiplied by 10 is 1680. So I hope that you must have understood how to work with inheritance. This was the smallest program which explain you how we can apply this concept of inheritance. So that was the logic we wanted to discuss today. Thank you very much.